everything that's there is actually archived, so you can review it and pick up what you can from there. All right, first exercise, turning 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and stop. To the side, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and stop. Okay, hands up, reach down, 1, 2, 3, to your right, 2, 3, to your left, 2, 3, center, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands up again, reach down, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, center, inhale, exhale. Hands up, reach down, 1, 2, 3, to your right, 2, 3, to your left, 2, 3, center, inhale, exhale. Okay, hands to your waist, circular movements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Center. Cross. Knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2. Reverse. Switch hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, and 2. Center, hands on your waist, neck turning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, 2. Center. Tilt to the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 1, and 2. Center. Rotating. 1, 2, 3. Okay, reverse. 1, 2, 3. Hands up. Pull in, inhale, exhale. So in the morning session, I gave a little more detail on some of the movements and the deep breathing exercise. So, you can always reference any of the previous videos for any content that might be a little bit different from what you're seeing in this class, okay? or any of the other classes going forward. So spread your feet, turn your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, and stop. Now, these exercises that you're watching, you probably realize that in the Kung Fu class, they have them. In the Tai Chi class, we have them. So essentially, up to this point, the exercises are essentially the same. I mean, we're working the same muscles, we're working the same body, we have the same concept. So up to this point, it's the same, and then in the Tai Chi, it starts to spin off into a different grouping of exercises, and in the Kung Fu, we go into the punching. So after turning the waist, we typically would do the stretching. So I did the stretching in the last class, and you saw some of that. So any of the live streaming, there'll be content on each and one of those that has a variety of different exercises that you may be able to draw off of. But just moving on from here, I want to take you into some footwork where we're doing this. So instead of the stretching, which we did earlier, we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is more leg work. We did a little of this earlier this morning, but I wanted to focus on the fact that this is how we move our feet. We pivot off the ball of the feet, and we pivot off of the ball of the feet. That forms 90 degrees. Now if I kick the heel out and sit, we end up in an empty stance. An empty stance is the typical Tai Chi stance. It looks like this. Empty stance and the archery stance. We sit back, and if we turn back to the front, we're back to square stance, and you pivot to the other side. So you can do this pivoting and weight shifting just to practice and build the coordination for the legs, and then you turn back to center. And then we pivot off the ball of the feet, shift the weight. So you're building tremendous control, much of it controlling your center of mass and your weight. So Tai Chi being a weight-bearing exercise, so how does it become a weight-bearing exercise? It's because we put weight on one leg at a time, sometimes up to 100% of the weight. So a weight-bearing exercise is carrying your own weight, and your legs will get stronger. Even your bone matrix actually responds to that when they did that study. Now here we go back to the square stance, and that's actually the shoulder width stance. We went over this morning that if you kick your heels together, you're 90 degrees. You go out to the corners and fold your arms and turn your hands out like this. You're in the single whip arm position. If we stretch out like this, that ends up single whip. Okay, so that's just one of the postures. Okay, next, we're in a shoulder width stance. We're going to do the shoulder roll exercise. So we try to work every joint in the body. That's why we do so many different variations of movement. We're trying to free up the shoulders, build good rotational movement, make circles involving, any of the muscles or bones up in this area. Your back, your shoulder blades, they're all building some kind of motion. So learning to free all of this up is good. Reverse. Okay, that's the shoulder roll. And then we end up in this position. We press and release. Press and release. Exhale, inhale, breathe through your nose, tongue touching the roof of your mouth. Exhale, inhale. and stop. Hands up, pull in again, inhale, up on your toes, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, wrist exercise or circles like this. Integrate the elbows and the knees. Okay, reverse. And center. Okay, palms down. Bigger circle. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and stop. Okay, shake it out. Now we're going to do the leg swing. We're not going to do the balance or the knee lift. We're just going to straight into the leg swing. So from the side view, you notice your hand and your feet are moving opposite side, and you're going to go like this. So you can see in the mirror that it resembles the arm swing as you walk, actually. So you get the mirror image of that. Now we're going to do the other side. Ready? Okay, center. Now we're going to go side to side. I'm going to stand this way like this. It crisscrosses your body. Okay, switch, swing. And center. Okay, shake it out. Hands up, pull in, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, silk reeling exercise. That's the one that starts in the hold the ball position, and we move forward and back. Forward and back. Now in the mirror image, maybe this is a little easier for you to follow. So we go forward and back. So it's run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll keep it going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now we switch the other side. It starts like this, and then you're back. Starts like this, and you're back. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's actually a bit of dimensional and volume in the motion, because you go forward, then you're twisting here. So the plane of movements actually varies quite a bit if you're completing your motion. And because Tai Chi is done in space, three-dimensional movement is very important. And as your body builds coordination, spatial awareness, the volume of your movement actually becomes much fuller. Okay, center. Now we're going to cross the forearms and open. And cross. Open. And close. Open. And close. Open. And close. So while we're streaming out, I know it's pretty difficult for a lot of people to follow video because of the directions that you have to track the movement. So we're trying to use and give you the best perspective of how the movement is. So coming from the back side, just mimic the movement. Hopefully the mirrors are actually picking up the arm movements. Okay. So anyone watching, if you have issues with not seeing the hands, you can always let us know that that's something that we have to fix, because we, filming and streaming from here, we actually can't see what you're seeing completely as someone trying to follow. Now let's switch, okay? Now what I mentioned in the morning is that both palms should be facing the same direction. Then when you cross here, they face opposite. And this is called opening and closing. Actually, there's actually some rising and falling in it, or rising and sinking. I didn't mention that this morning because I was focusing on just the arm movements at the time. Now, let's go to a parallel stance. This is preparation. This is the opening movement in the form, okay? So, as I mentioned earlier, essentially most Tai Chi forms begins with this opening motion. Okay. While movements should be fluid in learning, sometimes you would like to build some of the geometry of these positions to help all of us recognize that we have to manipulate our joints to create the different shapes and sizes. Okay, so this is parallel, okay? So we just move the camera to see if we can get a better angle with the mirror image, okay? So hopefully that was helpful. Okay, now that's movement. Let's do a little bit of stillness. So that's holding the position. So this is the lower hoop position. It's a round hoop. It's curved. Fingers spread gently. Fingertips aligned. Notice my thumb is wide open. That area between the index finger and the thumb is called the tiger's mouth. Okay. Now from here, I go to the shoulder height position and relax. Hold the position, keep your spine relaxed, knees soft and slightly bent. Breathe through your nose. Clear your thoughts. Okay, let's go to the elbow down position. Okay. It's holding a small ball, fingers are spread. Sort of resembles a chrysanthemum, like a flower, like the petals of a flower. Okay? Hollowing the palm, relaxing the shoulders and elbows, gazing slightly at the fingertips. Eyes actually should be following the hands, but when you're first learning, you end up following whoever's leading. So at some point, you'll be able to track your own movement. Okay, let's lower. Go to lower hoop and pass through that until we get our palms like this, and we soften the wrist and press down. Lift the back, lift the spine, but don't lift your chin. Okay, fingertips down. Extend. Okay, hands forward. Fold the elbows, pull in, deep breathing. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, next. In this position, step out. Now you're going to do the diagonal flying movement. Also looks like part the horse's mane. Okay, good. Now we'll do a few on the other side. So these names actually are postures, so try to identify them. In the beginning, it's a little, you don't know the difference, so you just kind of watch for a while. So this is diagonal flying. Part the horse's mane is another term we use for a posture. It looks similar to that. Not a significant difference, so just remember those two terms, part the horse's mane or diagonal flying. The diagonal flying actually will give you, sort of an idea that the movement is on the diagonal. So diagonal is anything that's sort of from corner to corner, slanting up. Okay, so when I put my hands here, you can see that it's from corner to corner. If you took this as a rectangle, you would see it's going from corner to corner. So it's a slant. Okay, so this is slanting up, this is slanting down. They pass each other about the center, and you have an even movement, and meanwhile your weight is going forward to back. Okay, back to shoulder width stance, palms down. Vertical elbow, remember that term, vertical elbow? That's just pointing your elbow downward. And horizontal elbow are the hoops. Then when the elbow points to the side, you'll have a horizontal elbow. Okay, now this is called cloud hands, by the way, and then when you go through these movements, you have to realize the limits of the movement. Now here, When it crosses here, it's just about eye level. The lower hand crosses just about where the hips join, okay, where the hip. So you see it really goes all the way down to the hip joint position. It's not halfway, that's waist level. That's how that would look if you're doing it like that. And if you're doing it too high above the eyes, it would be like this. And if you're reaching too far, it would look like that. So avoid all of these mistakes and try to just pan in and keep the elbow in a down position. And the elbow does move from side to side because we're turning from side to side. So where do we turn from? We're turning from the spine. The spine is the axle, and you're rotating around it. It's a vertical axle. Sometimes they use the analogy of a flagpole. Flagpole is vertical and it's true in position, and the flag are the arms. Okay, now we're here. The hands go down. They're essentially parallel. Lower hoop, bring it up to the eye level. Carry tiger to the mountain. Carry tiger to the mountain, term for a posture inside the form. Okay, so it's called carry tiger to the mountain. And essentially it's the three hoops. We can recall what the three hoops are: lower hoop, middle hoop, upper hoop. Palm out, cross hands, lower hoop. Upper hoop, 1, 2, 3. I mean, a lot of the positions, when I go through them, they're kind of self-explanatory. So if I go upper hoop, you have the upper position. Upper meaning eye level or forehead level. Cross meaning in front of your sternum. Lower hoop, okay, down around the hip area, not a little bit lower than the waist. In fact, it crosses maybe 3.5 inches below your navel. That's actually called the dantian, or center of mass. Okay. Now we're going to lift up to here, infinity sign. So infinity sign is a figure 8 on its side, and it's the divert, block, motion in the divert, block, and punch piece. So what we're building are patterns, actually learning to maneuver and manipulate our joints as relaxed as possible to release and eventually delete the excessive or erroneous motion or erroneous strength or any excessiveness in the motion, to keep it as gentle as possible. Okay, that's done there. We're going to form the fist. Okay, form the fist. Roll your fingers, roll your wrist, roll your elbow, roll your shoulder, creating what appears to be a curling of the wrists and a forming of the fist. Okay, so that's why we call form the fist. Okay, and once you form the fist, you have to have a forward-back movement as if you're punching, because that's exactly what it is. It's a punch. Now, in the earlier class, I termed this vertical punch where the thumb is up as a sun punch. So in Tai Chi, we use this version of a punch. Okay, some styles use this, which is the flat punch. Okay, shake it out. Deep breathing, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Okay, let's go to the triangle position. Find the nose, extend the fingertips out enough with the elbow sinking down about a fist and a thumb distance from your rib cage. This is a pretty standard gauge for what would be, your neutral position. Okay, you separate the hands, bring it back to center, turn slightly, bring it back to center. So this is strum the lute, and it's also 2 semicircles, one on each side, finding and landing on your center line. So that's strum the lute, right and left side, okay? What's right and left? The right hand on top is the right side, left hand on top is the left side, okay? Now, with the mirror, hopefully you can see from the back that you have a semicircle that lands right on the center line, and you have a slight twist to each side, okay? So the reason I'm doing it from the back is because doing it from the front, you may get a little confused as to which hand is which. So this hopefully will be more clear and familiar to, because when we go through the form, this is what you're going to be seeing. You won't be seeing a mirror image if I face you. Well, you will be seeing a mirror as I face you, but the form itself, it moves. Okay, let's go to the thumb up position. So that's your right thumb up, elbow out position, horizontal elbow, palms together, flip, flip, flip. So you're just alternating the shoulders, building that coordination, building that relationship, building that synchronization. All of that is happening by lifting and dropping the elbow. Okay, we just do a few of these and we'll go to the other side. See how we did that? It's a swapping of the hands. And you level out, thumbs up on this side. Now we flip and flip and flip and flip. So remember that, I go through a series of these, but you can train and practice and do more of these. Do the ones that you have, you're familiar with, and do them. And the ones that you have the most trouble with are the ones you should do the most work with. You have to work your worst movement, at least, in the beginning. Now, from here, we're going to go right to the center line, but extend the arms. Now you're actually like shoulder level, bringing your hands to center. Then we turn to the side and draw the bow. So this is just like drawing an archery bow. You pull and you separate the hands. Come back to center, turn and draw. Okay. You're not using a lot of strength, but you are realigning and stretching in the opposite direction. And then we do it again. So all we're doing is cycling through and turn, and do a couple more. 1 and 2. Okay, next. Spread your feet. There's the horse stance. Left hand on top. Turn to your left. Fan through the back. Okay, turn to your left or your right. Fan to the back. Turn to the back and open. So remember, left hand's on top. You can see in the mirror, right hand goes on top. It's really scooping up. The elbows reach up, and then you level out. Okay? The other side does the same. Level out. Fan through the back is the name of this. It shows up in the form, and we see that. Okay, shake it out. Next, shoulder width stance, going up, over the head, raising the hand. I mentioned earlier that it's really increased the range of motion. Okay? Relax this whole shoulder girdle so that your arm doesn't end up like that. Just relax it, the shoulder blade, all of this opens up, lift up, and reach. Reach. Biggest conflict in movement, those tight shoulders that really restrict your movement. People have a little trouble going up and not being able to extend the arm. and you go up, and you reach. Okay, then your hands go down, and you go inside, and exhale. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. So that completes the exercise, and if you followed the last session, actually most of the exercise run between 30 and 35 minutes. It's consistently about that amount of time, depending on how much explanation, how many more times that we do each individual exercise. Then we go into the postures, or we go into the short form. So in the morning, I went through the whole short form. It's called the Tai Chi paradigm, and we started from this position, went through from beginning to end. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to run through it one time, and then we'll go back and we'll kind of go through some of the basic fundamentals. So let's start going through the form first, and then I'll take you through some of the ways we learn it. Okay, so this is preparation, and we go forward, sit back and turn the corner. Right foot forward, step up, grasp the sparrow's tail. This is your right side, grasp the sparrow's tail. You hook your wrists and you turn to the front. This is single whip. Hold the ball. Shift. Slant diagonally or diagonal flying. Shift the weight. Step up. Go right through your center. Step up and raise the hand. Bend from the waist. Stork flaps wings. Okay, now we're going to toe. Toe heel. Brush knee 4 times. Sit back. Second brush knee. There are 4 of them. The first 2 on the right side. And then we go forward again. Go to the left. Brush knee and push. Going to the final brush knee, it's on the right side. It's your 4th brush knee and push. So the push is from the back side or the rear leg. Okay, strum the lute, move to the center, pass 245, right center to left, close the door. Form the fist, step up on your left and punch. Divert, block, and punch. Cross the arms, leopard and tiger, springs the mountain. Okay, then from here we go back to neutral. Stroke out, fold the elbow, fist under elbow. Pretty standard procedure, standard posture in a lot of forms. Forward, repulse the monkey. Retreat and repulse the monkey, means to go backwards. Done 3 times, starting on your left. We just did the left, we're turning to the right. Straighten the back foot, repulse the monkey, and forward. Step back, go forward, straighten the back foot, return, repulse the monkey, go backwards, and push. Let's go to the right side neutral, hold the ball, twist step, step up, diagonal flying. Okay, sit back, bring the toe back, insert the needle, step forward, fan through the back. Turn, stroke down, invert the hand, parry and punch. Okay, form the fist, punch, sit back, go out, go in, out. So this is really a repeat of what we did on the other side. Leopard and tiger, springs the mountain. Then you bring the hands down, you sit back, turn 135 degrees to the rear corner, lift up, turn the palms out. This is carry tiger to the mountain, broken up into a couple of phases. Here's the cross arm, the raising of the left hand, and bend. We turn, and then we form this position, stork flaps wings, and we turn to the left side grasps the sparrow's tail. Now all the movements after carry tiger to the mountain is the left side of the movements. So these are the mirror images. Palm in, palm across, reverse the ball to diagonal flying. Sit back, stroke down, part the horse's mane. Okay, step up, neutral, stroke down, cover the hand, part the horse's mane. Sit back, we're going to cross over Jade Lady Work Shuttle. Okay, let's cross over Jade Lady Work Shuttle. Okay, so this is the short form. So we're just doing 2 of each, turn back to the front, and we have single whip. Cloud hands. 1. That's the first arm. Second time, so it's right and left, total of 4 arm movements. And we're back to single whip. Open the stance. Hold the ball. Reverse the ball. Diagonal flying. Out to the side. Step to the back. Close the form. Okay, so that's the 37 movement Tai Chi paradigm form in its full. It's all mapped out. That's what we learn. That's what we practice. But learning the sequential side of that takes a bit of time. Identifying the postures is the most important thing. So, there's footwork, there's hand movements, there's patterns. So what I'm going to go through now is actually the straight linear form. Everything is facing the mirror. We start off first 1, 2. So this is really basic, but you can identify sections of the form. Okay, so now when we open the movement like this, that's preparation. We adjust one foot and then bring out the other. So this is your left side empty stance. Okay, go to the left side vertical position and we press forward. So that's fairly simple. That's beginning style. Now we sit back. This is called toeing out. We pass through this position, flip the elbows to bring us to the right side. Now by learning how to make those transitions, we learn to step forward and back, and now the next posture is grasp the sparrow's tail. Okay. We hook the wrists. The next posture, so we're just identifying this by looking in the mirror to see what these series of movements actually are. So this is single whip. We hold the ball and we're level. Now we do the diagonal flying, we're here. And when we step up, we press forward, step up again, and we raise the hand. Bend from the waist, stork flaps wings, and relax. Okay, so I just went through a series of movements. I went through the series of movements, and this series of movements, if this is your first time, there's no rhyme or reason. You can't identify anything that I probably just talked about, but there is actually a delineation of each one. So let me break those down for you to see which is a component and how you can practice those. That's actually the first section of the form, all the different postures within the first section. In the mapping of the form, you actually start here, you go there, and you come back. It's too complicated to learn for someone that's just starting out. So what we do is, this is preparation. Okay, so if you did this a bunch of times, you would be developing that movement. Okay, now the next thing we do is we have to learn how to step up. Okay, So stepping up is just setting up that first stance, okay? Once we have that stance and you go back and forth, you'd have to develop the coordination between the two legs. Now, stepping up and changing to the other side, there's a transition where your foot has to actually go back and out and back. So we're just dealing with 45 degrees here. We're dealing with straightening the foot here. Now, we actually did this a bit, in some of the warm-ups we pivoted the feet. But the reason why we have to learn to pivot the feet is because we have to control our center of mass. So now I'm on the right side, and I go forward and back, forward and back. If I toe out like this, I go to the next position. Okay, so that's how you would step. You can practice the stepping by putting your hand on the waist, or opening by shifting of the weight. And over time, you're going to get a little bit more familiar with shifting and how that feels. All right. Now, the first movement is this. This is the vertical position, strum the lute position, and we press forward. Okay, that's really identifying that first motion. Okay, if we just switch stances, if we flip the hands and did that transition like we did in the warm-ups, you would be on the opposite side, vertical to horizontal. So those two movements, left and right movements, it's called beginning style. So from the left side, we go forward and back to a step, step up, flip the hands, make a transition by swapping the hands and go forward. So that's it. That's two movements, beginning style. Now, we just opened the stance on the left side. Now, this time we're going to open it on the right. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Forward, backward, and forward. So here's what you have to take from this is that's a vertical position, elbow out position. Okay? We press forward, okay, and then separate the hands and connect at the wrists. We actually did this in the morning. It's a tutorial, in the live stream, or it's in the archive tutorials. Forward, but it was in this morning's tutorial. We actually did grasp the sparrow's tails several times. Okay, then you hook your wrists. So at the end of grasp the sparrow's tail, vertical to horizontal to palms down to palm up position is the hook wrist. Okay, so that hook wrist really is from this corner. Okay, we go like this, bend the knees and open the stance, and that takes us to this position. You see, this stays here, then we draw this line across to the opposite corner. Now we're at single whip. Okay, so single whip is the next posture. You have grasp the sparrow's tail, okay, and then you have some transitions from single whip to hold the ball. Okay, so here you practice from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring it back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you always have to set up your feet, and that's what most people have trouble with. But we started from here, went to here, open, and you have single whip. So you're practicing one unit like that. It's much easier to remember, and you can build your coordination, identify that as a posture. Okay. Now, if we're in this stance and we hold the ball and we just slant like this, we do this a lot already as one of the drills. That's diagonal flying. So without doing a drill there, or while you're practicing, it's already happening in some of our warm-ups. Okay, so we don't need to reveal that. But let's go to this position again. Let's go to the right side stance. What have we learned? Vertical, and horizontal. And we learn the horizontal is generally with the front leg. So a lot of these things that you didn't really pay attention to in the beginning, it's highlighted now that there's vertical and horizontal again. But let's pass through the disposition. Okay, drop the hand to the waist, spread your feet to shoulder width, and lift up to raise the hand. Okay, so we had this in the warm-ups. I told you that in the form it only goes about to the forehead height, because when we bend and we pick the other hand up, it ends up as stork flaps wings. So how do you practice that? Well, you can start off on the right foot, press forward and step up as a transition, and then from here we lift it. If you can get to this point, bend and pick up the other hand. Stork flaps wings and relax. So that's identifying each one of those postures. So the last one had a few of them. So we had that neutral position, which was the pass-through from beginning style. We have this press, which is part of beginning style. Now we have this. We're just in a position in a vertical stance, and we raise the hand. We bend from the waist, and as we pick up the body, we pick up the arm, and you end up in stork flaps wings. Okay. So what do? We went through all the postures in the first section of the form. You have beginning style, okay. You have grasp the sparrow's tail right side. You have single whip, diagonal flying, and raise the hand. So even though when we went through the form, it seemed like a lot, it's only really 5 postures. So those 5 postures, actually when you go through them and you start to identify them and work them, you link them together and you create the sequence. Now, what I'm going to be doing going forward with the Tai Chi Paradigm sequence is show you the whole form in its linear fashion, because most of these movements happen in this view. So we can do the whole front side, we can do the rest of the movements, and now I'll just kind of run through the names. Brush knee, strum the lute, close the door, form the fist. These are all in this direction. Leopard and tiger springs mountain, repulse the monkey. All of these happen with this front view. So we'll be able to go through all of these postures one at a time, and then we'll string them together as a sequence. And we can string them together in this direction, and we get it down well enough, we can start to build the first section or the second section and third section, and then map it out as a sequence. So that's going to happen, over the next few weeks, and it should evolve pretty quickly. But you have to follow it and practice a bit, and by following it and practicing a bit, I'm sure you're going to start to recognize a lot of the things we're doing. How do we learn? We learn through mimicking of the movement. That means copying the movement. Listen to the concept and the principle that kind of directs and controls these movements, and then after a while you'll start to get familiar with everything that's going on. And I think just this morning, if you're following it now, just these 2 classes, you've probably gained some insight as to how Tai Chi is learned. I can also go into more of the benefits of Tai Chi in some of the future streaming videos. And there's a whole bunch of things. But as we go through this, in order for me to move forward and do different content and approach different, we have to look at the archive videos so that I don't have to go over and repeat many of the things that would happen over and over again. And I think our time is up. We're getting the message that it's time to sign out. Hope you had a good...
That's done with TCP. You still have 108, 30 minutes.
Yeah, so we're moving on to the 108. There's no break. Okay, I'm gonna have a little water before I go into 108. Okay, water break. So we had someone actually came into class today, and he's following along in the back. You can see him in the mirror there. Okay, maybe he should do the 108. So anyone that tuned in realize that this next half hour is going to be more of on the 108 movement form, because it's actually recorded in the early morning. You can either follow that if you want to just do the sequence. I did some things on the cloud hands and I had some explanations there, but I want to go through some of the postures in the form that we typically don't have in the Tai Chi paradigm. And what I went over this morning was the high pat the horse and what we do with the kicks. That's something that's actually on the tutorial as well, right? So this is reversing the ball in this direction, but when the hands are here and you roll forward, that actually leads you into palm strikes face or high pat the horse, okay? So sometimes learning just the hand movements without the legs makes it a little bit easier for you to digest, because when the hands and legs get into play, it's too many things happening simultaneously that you can't pick up on all of it. That's one thing about when we learn something, we're conscious of what we're doing. Our consciousness of the motion actually can only focus on one thing at a time. So it's too much to process in a very short amount of time. So by looking and following and tracking, you don't have to think as much. Just look at the movement. I slow it down enough for you to see, and you fold your elbows. And we did this as a drill, as you recall. And if I go like this, you can see the hands drifting toward the center, and then it goes down, and then it expands open, it's parallel, and it flips over to a cross hand position, and you fold the elbows, and you notice that you're on this side. So that's happening constantly when we do this, okay? There's a little fruit fly flying around here. Probably not just the only one. And we're back to center. So that's one thing that we have to understand in high pat the horse, that it doesn't go beyond your face or forehead. The lower hand stays within the realm of this area. So when we're like this, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turn this way, and 6. So that's your hand movement. Now this comes back in, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, good. So that's one thing that we have to identify was the high pat the horse. The elbows can fold like this. You see, they are stacked on top of it, and they separate. So you have to relax the elbows, the shoulder, and allow the hands to expand, and then you turn. So all of this really works the shoulders, because our shoulders are very tight most of the time. And it's tight because we don't use them in full ranges of motion. And the other thing is, a lot of times when we're younger, we build our shoulders up because you think that you need to strengthen the shoulders, and maybe these, maybe it looks good to have larger shoulders. But if you build the shoulders and you don't move them, then you start to restrict and lose the range of motion in them, because you're building it in specific positions. But we try to expand the movement so that we have freedom of movement, so we can create good motions. So this is high pat the horse. So when we're here in single whip, when we turn toward the mirror, we're like this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And the knee goes up, the elbow goes up, and you do the kick. And if we do the other one, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2. So if you just get those two movements down sequentially, then that's actually a foundation for the kicks. So when you start from single whip and you pivot, and we're like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Lift. kick, and down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And you would cross behind. Okay, so let's move on through that because essentially the fourth movement is the same. Now, we have what we call beat the tiger. So beat the tiger is this posture. Okay, so you look at the position, that's beat the tiger. There's different versions of beat the tiger. You could be like this, actually holding the position like this. There's beat the tiger like this. We do it like this. Okay, so there's versions, but the arm essentially is in the same position. That's beat the tiger. Okay, so beat the tiger is really to lead you into a hook. In Hunga, we actually have the same similar movement. Or in beat the tiger, you're here, and then you go down and you do a heel kick. And what follows a heel kick is 2 punches to the ear. So 2 punches to the ear, so you see the hook position and the position is the same. So what we build when we do these postures consistently over time is muscle memory of a position, because it's very specific to the structural integrity of your posture. So if you're making a hook, it has to be relative to your framework of your body and the direction of your body. So that's called, beat the tiger. This is 2 punches to the ear, and this is your heel kick. And leads to that. So practically most of the Tai Chi forms has this combination of movement. Beat the tiger, heel kick, 2 punches to the ear. Those are all pretty standard type things. Okay. The divert and block. Okay, we worked on that earlier today. Now we have parry and punch. Okay, so what's parry and punch? Parry and punch is like a hammer fist. You stroke down like this, you invert the hand and you turn, and you go to the inside and you end up here. It's a back fist. Stroke down, invert the hand, come through the center, and then go to the forward position. Okay, so we have a bunch of those. You could be in this position and you turn, and there's your parry and punch without the stroke down. It just comes from here. It's the parry and punch. Forming the fists can be forward, or it can be going backwards, forming the fist. So in the long form, we have both versions. You step backwards to form the fist, divert and block, or you step forward and form the fist and block. So those are combinations of different things that happen. And if that happens, within the framework of that, then, you start to develop transitions. Now, typically, Tai Chi is a martial art. A lot of people don't think of it as a martial art because it's done so slowly. But every one of those, like in any of the traditional arts, uses forms to develop technique. Now, it's a strategy, but it's actually building coordination, body mechanics, and a deeper understanding of how your body has to move to become functional. So while functionality is application and technique, functionality is actually the only reason why we move. We move to be functional, be able to do things, whether it's driving, their tasks. You might do work that requires, certain skill that requires body. If you're a cook or a chef or anything, actually anything and everything that you do requires functionality. If you're working on a laptop, you're a surgeon or you're whatever, you have to move in order to do all these things. It's motor skill. So if we develop good motor skill, then you develop coordination. And how do we develop motor skill? It's all actually programmed up here. So in Tai Chi, we talk about, the mind leading the movement. So it's not using strength. Now, sometimes that's misinterpreted. It's not that in Tai Chi we don't use strength. we use the correct amount of strength. So the idea is to 用意不用力. Use your will and not strength. So using your will is learning to drive your movement directionally, and all that coordination that we develop eventually becomes part of the functionality of the motion. Now, in this regard, we're actually looking at a technique and we're trying to build it. But if you're not thinking on the martial side of it, you still have to have integrity, structural integrity of a position. So all of these movements, when we move from one position to the next, is very important to avoid, the emptiness within your transitions. So that's really some of the concepts that we have to bring in. Now, if you learn the 108 movement, it takes a long time to perfect it. So while we're building that, we have to take the individual components out and work them. So why is pot the horse's mane done 5 times? Why is brush knee done so many times? Why is grass the sparrow's tail done, 8 or 9 times in a form? Because they must be important. There must be something valuable in those postures for them to be repeated that many times. Now, you're doing the Tai Chi paradigm, we only do it twice, one right and one left. But a long form on a traditional side is built and designed for you to do the repetition built within that long sequence. But, what is the advantage of doing such a long sequence? It's the mapping of your footwork. If you go through the form and you map, and it's mapped out so that you have all these transitions, you get familiar with directional changes, how to move your feet from one side to the other, how do you maneuverability. So we have an idea what we call the 5 coordinations: hands, eye, body, waist, and stance. So those are pretty simple terms: hands, eyes, body, waist, that's this area, and stance. But you take it into a deeper context and try to interpret what those mean. So in the eyes follow the hand. It's a hand-eye coordination. The body are these postures. They're varying in different ways because they have different purposes. So that's the imagery. So when you learn form, you learn mental imagery, and you develop this from the insight that you develop from what you think you see. I say think you see because you don't actually see and perceive everything that's actually within the realm of what you're watching or seeing, because it's lack of understanding. Then your waist is your torso. Torso movement is another thing. So there's torso movement. It's coordination of this area, your back, your spine. All of these areas have to be integrated. So you build torso control, muscle memory, and body form and method. So method is the key. What is the method you're developing in the body form? Then the legs. You have stances. We went over those. The empty stance, the leaning stance. We have a cross stance. We have the twist stance. All of these are stances. We have footwork from the cloud hands through crossing over, like in the Jade Lady work shuttle. And then we have footwork from legs. So all of those are leg stance and leg techniques. Those are the methods. Now the method inside how we shift and how we transition is constantly refined. So all of those 5, coordinations have to come together as a concept, and then, develop the understanding of what do all those mean when they all become one. So that's, that's a long journey with what Tai Chi offers. But because it's a journey and because there's discovery, when you go through these simple movements and you don't really know why you're doing them other than that you're copying, there is actually very intricate, control of what your body form is doing. So the structural integrity of a position isn't really understood for a long period of time. But while you're struggling to learn it, as you evolve and these positions enter your subconscious and you begin to feel what these positions feel like, you start to develop a true understanding. But ultimately, when you move, you create circulation. when you move and you move in an integrated way, you begin to create circulation. So this is cloud hands that we're doing, that I'm doing, to develop control of your footwork, your body form, the synchronization of the body, and the idea of which is passive and which is active, which is substantial and which is insubstantial. So all of our practice is trying to understand that little concept, okay? If we do, say, I'm going to take you through a couple of drills, one of them being grass asparagus, right and left side, brush knee, right and left side, and Jade Lady, okay? We have these in the paradigm form, but we also have them, in the long form. So grass asparagus tail, right side. It's 1, 2, 3, and you turn. 1, 2, 3. So this is good to practice both sides. It's in the Tai Chi paradigm, but the thing is, in the long form, we don't work the opposite side. So when we work the opposite side this way, if you're an instructor, you actually have to do both sides. Because if you're going to show the mirror image, you have to know the opposite side. Now let's go to neutral and we press. So let's turn, brush knee, and press. So these brush knee is actually the obliques, because you make a 180-degree turn to the corner. So you practice the oblique, brush knee, and push. You see what I mean? This is actually drilling, just taking two simple postures, Jade Lady work shadow, and set up for brush knee. You see? So this is how we work the posture to build some perfection into that. So it's really drilling. Now when we're in this position, typically pot the horse's mane, and we cross over to Jade Lady work shuttle, the transition from one to the next is what you're trying to build. The integration, the timing of when the hand moves and the leg moves. So it happens when you step. So you have to step often with the hands in order to develop that relationship. And this is Jade Lady work shadow. Now that's just crisscrossing in the Tai Chi paradigm form. But in the long form, we actually will rotate and spin and cross to the opposite direction. And it goes like this. And here we cap it off with pot the horse's mane. So you can take your form and isolate these two postures and focus on how you maneuver through this. Okay, and you cross. And you start to build some understanding spatially and balance between one movement and the next. So hopefully, by watching, you can capture some of the imagery, the timing, where the hands and legs move, and some of the nuances that maybe won't actually be picked up for a while until you do this. And we go back. Cross over. So I'm actually just cycling through the same movement over and over again. And then we hook the wrists, and then we would end up back in single whip. So, okay, shake it out. Okay, let's do a few deep breaths. Hands up, inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. So we have, some ending movements in the form that we probably don't do enough of, especially when we're learning. So let's go to a cross hand position, which is this. Okay. Then we retreat, and we turn, and we turn, and we step up. Okay. So that's the footwork in that. When we're here, we step back, we switch. This hand comes down. This turns out to the side. Now you're going to hook this wrist, step up with this foot, bring this hand to here. Okay? This is ride the tiger, then the palm strikes face. So we cross the hand, sit back, turn, hook, and up. And then the palm would be there. So palm strikes face is that. It's also this, as high pat the horse. So that position is pretty consistent. One's in a suspended, one's in a leaning. So, or archery stance. You see that? So as you evolve, you're going to start to recognize some of the positions that your hands pass through. So where do they pass through? They pass right through your center. All the movements have to track through your center because the center line is important. We call it central equilibrium, balance. So in Tai Chi we have forward, backward, right, left, center. And then there's, up and down, which is rising and falling. Okay, so, those are, a series of movements that are in the form. So there's where we have, palm strikes face, and then we have cross hand, and we go forward. Step up, hook your wrists, palm strikes face, and then we would turn, and then there's a lotus kick here. Okay. And one other position we have, which is a little awkward, is this position. It's actually draw bow to shoot tiger. So drawing the bow to shoot tiger is this. Okay. Look at the position, try to mimic the position. So it would be after lotus kick, and we're like this. Okay, good. Let's go like this. 1, 2, 3. Closing movements for the final grasp the sparrow's tail. So that's called stepping up. So you notice in the form, stepping up is moving forward or advancing forward. So one of the hardest things for most people is to move their feet. So when we step up and we turn and we move the feet, you're actually moving forward. So that's part of, what you'll develop over time, okay? Deep breathing again, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. So, we have a few minutes left, but I just wanted to say that, the content that we have will vary, but, a lot of it is just linking the things that we've learned over a period of time. We have many people out there that are students that are not coming, so some of this content they can review, maybe get some insights and get a takeaway from what they maybe didn't see in class. And then for newer people, this is just a whole bunch of information for you to store up here. So as you evolve, you'll begin to pick up the strategy of learning Tai Chi. Most people get a little discouraged in the beginning because it seems like so much that it's too complicated or you don't have the coordination. Believe me, it's a really challenging to be, it's a real challenge to be, but everybody can learn this if you approach it systematically and build your movements from the ground up. If you build it from the ground up, that means your footwork, and you build the patterns from those warm-ups. You know, regardless if you learn the sequence immediately or not, those warm-ups are going to take you a long way. It's something that's practiced throughout all levels of Tai Chi here, because even the training that we do from the fundamentals will evolve, because through the experience and the discovery and the feeling that you gain from, you know, the understanding will totally change how you viewed that first exercise that you learned watching the first video. So on that note, I'm going to leave you. We're going to be doing another tutorial, you know, with the Kung Fu tonight. And then as we sort of get our schedule down, as this environment evolves, we'll see, you know, when we can actually do live stream and when we'll do the archive video. So I think one of our approaches is going to be all the live streaming will be done in the morning, archive for the people that want to watch it at night, and you know, that will be a way that we can film consistently without having to break up the day too much. So that's the idea and the strategy, but we'll see, you know, what groups of people and what students we need to satisfy, you know, while you're at home, because there is lots of content, and because I teach 3 styles of martial art, I'd have to satisfy every group, and, you know, we intend to do that. So stay tuned. You know, there's going to be probably some streaming tomorrow night, and might be something you've never seen before. So stay tuned.